Okay, hello and welcome to week 7 of the TBD College Football Podcast. Myself, Newbeck, joined as always by my good friend and model Maryland citizen, Dugan. Dugan, how are we doing on this fine, very thunderstormy night here in Virginia Beach?
Brad, we're doing all right. Little hot up here. Little humid action.
Humid? Oh, interesting.
Yeah, little humid. So, but other than that, though, we're doing all right.
Excellent. Dugan and I here got sort of the pre-show to the World Cup qualifying. We like our USA sports.
We do.
But more importantly, we are halfway through the college football season here, and it is flying by pretty fast. Had some upsets this week. More teams sort of seem to be dropping off as we go along, which, of course, is to be expected, but some sort of surprises and teams separating themselves from the pack here. And no real major firings, to be surprising. But, Dugan, how was your weekend?
My weekend was nice. Able to watch a lot of good football, which is fun.
Yeah, unfortunately, I was not. I had to catch up on a lot of it Sunday afternoon. I traveled to Sumter, South Carolina.
Fort Sumter, nice.
No, not Fort Sumter.
Okay, I just made that up.
I think it is in South Carolina, but I don't think it's that Fort Sumter. I don't know.
People don't listen to us for geography, so that's good. We're just going to go with Fort Sumter.
That is true. Every time I look at the map of the United States, I'm befuddled. I'm just like, oh my God, Colorado's that close to Oklahoma? What?
The Midwest is real weird.
Real weird. I feel like those states like kind of change around every once in a while. Like they'll just flip flop. Like Nevada moves to the right a little bit, and Utah kind of like gets in there for a little bit, like hey.
Like some good high school football, like gerrymandering, like get some lines in there, get some kids from your school district kind of thing.
Oh man,
I can deal with that.
That's good. Wow, I didn't think about that. So let's jump into it. I was able to see the Thursday night game, Louisville, NC State. Louisville obviously traveling, and Louisville not doing too well on the road on these Thursday night games. We can remember last year at Houston did not go so well, and again this year Louisville is sort of done, and NC State is sort of making its way through the ACC is one of the front runners there. Final score 39-25. With a lot of points coming in the third, but Lamar Jackson could not salvage or bring Louisville probably now to a playoff berth here.
Yeah, we had some pretty high hopes for Louisville, and let's just say it's not going great right now. But NC State's real. NC State's real for real.
Now they got that guy Ryan Finley.
Yeah, I remember hearing that name one time. Who's that? And they probably still have that kicker, right?
Oh, God. I'm not sure. I thought he was a senior.
He needs to pay for our sins, Brad.
He does need to pay for our sins.
He does.
Fun fact. Actually, we'll get to that. We'll move on down the line here. Alabama getting tested on the road, 27-19. Against a Texas A&M team that's trying to stay alive and keep their coach, Kevin Sumlin. After the game, Dugan, did you see Saban's rant?
No, I would have probably hated it. What did he say?
He said that the media feeding his team, the media telling his team that they're really good and telling his players that, they're really good and that they're going into the NFL is like rat poison.
I mean, yeah, it could be that or the top recruiting class and not losing a game and having the number one thing next to you. But no, it's probably the media. So. Fucking asshole.
Oh, man. irrelevant. We've sort of known for a while now that until somebody shows us something, Alabama's just going to keep rolling. Obviously, somewhat of a close game, a margin of victory of only 8 points.
25.5 was the spread. How ridiculous is that?
Yeah, no, I mean, you were looking real good.
They're a 4-1 team at home.
Yeah.
Crazy. And I think that's a win for Kevin Sumlin's job.
No, I agree. I mean, only holding Alabama to 27 and being the first SEC school to score a touchdown against said program. Pretty impressive stuff. I guess that's still why he's still around. I mean, Texas A&M is only 4-2. And that was their first loss in the SEC. So, I mean, I guess if they, finish second in the West, or who knows, Bama could lose or something like that. I don't know. Crazier things have happened. Things could be looking up for Texas A&M. You never know. You never know these things. We'll move on, though. The SEC is pretty boring. Getting to my favorite bet of the weekend. Wake Forest traveling to Death Valley Light to face the number 2 Clemson team. And Wake Forest, with the points, did what they needed to do. Clemson only winning 28-14.
Yeah, Wake is sneaky good. I think we're coming to, I guess you kind of couldn't take the Florida State win for all those worth. But they're not bad. They're not as bad as people think they would be or would do against top competition. What are they? They're 4-2? Something like that?
Yeah, they're 4-2.
They're good.
So, and Clemson, obviously Bryant going down injured in the third. Did have the replacement come in and throw a touchdown. He's fine, but most of the statistics coming from the Wake Forest side in this game. And, Clemson defense, I guess, is the only redeeming quality from this team. But who knows? Wake Forest might be a good team, like you said. 4-2. Definitely, I guess, on the better half of the ACC this year. But, so yeah. We'll move on here. Penn State rolling over Northwestern. Who really cares? Georgia and Vanderbilt again. But we'll move to a good game out there in the Big 12. West Virginia TCU, and TCU pulling away late to hold off West Virginia. West Virginia did a lot to win this game on the road. Pretty tough. A 3-1 team coming in here. TCU being undefeated, and TCU got it done at home with game day there. So look to TCU now out of the Big 12 with Oklahoma slipping up this weekend.
Yeah, TCU's for real. Gary Patterson just does a tremendous job out there. And I was listening, it's really true that they have their, ebbs and flows of, they're not going to obviously get top recruits, but they kind of takes the 2 to 3 year maturation process. And this is one of those top years for TCU, like we saw, 2 or 3 years ago probably 2 years ago with Travion Boykin and those teams that are really good. So it definitely takes a couple of years to get all his guys going. But they're firing right now, and that's a very good team with an excellent head coach.
Yeah, no, it'll be interesting to see. Obviously, TCU kind of just sneaking up the rankings as more and more teams get knocked off. So, pretty exciting stuff out of the Horned Frogs. I would love to see, what is it, Andy Dalton's alma mater? Am I correct?
Andy Dalton's alma mater.
That's right. Let's go, Horned Frogs. Wisconsin sort of putting it on Nebraska, but, Wisconsin's sort of notable here. Number 9 last week, still undefeated, and, now that week 7's, starts on Thursday, we sort of look to the undefeateds that are still, the teams that are still undefeated, because, they still have a pretty good shot of making it. So again, Wisconsin not really facing anybody late, yet. But again, another team to watch out for. And then other than that, Florida State losing to Miami, sort of in the last seconds there. As Florida State sort of stormed back with 17 in the fourth, but Miami sort of put them away late, and Florida 1-3, and it's just it's sort of almost you feel bad, obviously being hit with a hurricane, losing the close one to Bama, first game of the season, and especially when everybody had their rematch sort of penciled in for January 8th for the championship games. So, you kind of feel bad for them.
A little bad, but, I mean, I don't know. College football doesn't really have sympathy for people.
No, it does not.
So, I guess you just got to keep. I mean, 1-3 is bad. I wonder if that's going to lose some recruits too, especially losing an in-state game. If they lose that Florida game, boy, it's going to hurt their recruiting a lot. I was talking to somebody the other day. What is Jimbo? Is Jimbo like? Is he hot seat yet? I guess he gets like this 1 year where you said like a hurricane losing his quarterback and stuff like that. When does the Jimbo pressure have to come in?
Man, you say that now, and I'm sort of kind of put on the spot because I never really thought about it, especially with the resurgence of Clemson out of the ACC. It's kind of been tough for Florida State to kind of stand out, especially with Louisville being there as well. But, Jimbo's put together a lot of 10-win seasons there, and obviously has won a national championship recently. So I wouldn't say that the seat's heating up, especially, two big factors in your quarterback, sophomore, who, is supposed to have a breakout year, goes down the first game. And then the next week you get hit by this hurricane where you're forced onto a bye. Actually, you have to reschedule a game, and you miss sort of a cupcake sort of tune-up game for your season, and it's just kind of like it is kind of unfair for them. But at the same time, Miami still had the same deal, obviously with not their quarterback going down, but being in the same area, they've had to deal with the same sort of thing. So, you're right. College football just doesn't feel sorry for anybody. As we move on to the feel sorries, and in Florida, LSU goes into the swamp and knocks off number 21 Florida, and I don't think saves Interim Ed's job, but a lot of people at LSU not happy with this, almost full season that Ed's turned in now since, taking over for Les Miles. And a lot of College Game Day was spent talking about this and the buyout. How much was the buyout, Dugan?
I think it's like 12.
$12 million for a quarterback.
That's so stupid.
I mean, a quarterback. A coach that no one wanted.
Like, when they were doing that contract, did they ever think, like, we're never going to pay $12 million?
I have no idea. Honestly,
and they really they're really polarizing and saying like you gave a $12 million buyout to a dude who couldn't get a freaking job.
Yeah,
that's
USC didn't even want him. I don't know. I honestly don't know. Could not tell you. But it's I'm kind of just dumbfounded and. And LSU again only 4-2, a chance to sort of rebound this season and maybe have something come. 2018 is right around the corner. But you're right, college football does not care. Let's get to our two upsets of the week. Both, one made me really happy. The other, not so much. Or I just didn't care. Michigan at home against Michigan State. Boy, oh boy, was this an ugly game.
So bad. I got tricked into betting the over, like 5 minutes before kickoff with a friend.
Oh man, were you drunk?
I had a few Chardonnays.
I had a few Chardonnays.
And he gave a really compelling, really rant, and I was playing scenarios in my head, and I sneaky liked Michigan State in this game. I think I said I liked Michigan State. No, actually, I lied. I picked Michigan, but I thought Michigan State had a chance, but I got fucked. I got fucked by Vegas on that one.
Man, oh man. John O'Corn, 16 for 35, 198 yards and 3 picks. And he's
not great.
And he still outplayed the Michigan State quarterback. Still had more yards. Unreal.
I mean, that's just. I was listening to a couple things today. With that kid at quarterback, they might lose Ohio State, Penn State, and Wisconsin.
I think so.
Could you imagine them going? What would that be? 8-4, 7-4?
Yeah.
That'd rather be gross.
I don't know who they'd get. I mean, and then being Michigan, I doubt they get a cupcake bowl game either.
They probably get that fake bowl game that Notre Dame gets. The Beef O'Brady's Bowl.
The Beef O'Brady's Bowl. Man, somebody said a bowl the other day, and I just laughed. Like, most of them I just laugh. Like, the Michelin Tire Bowl.
Meineke Car Care Bowl's a good one.
Oh, God.
Little Caesars Bowl.
Little Caesars Bowl. Oh, man. We'll get to the another one here. Just sort of a shootout the whole game. Until Oklahoma just kind of stalled out. Baker Mayfield just stalled out on offense. But Iowa State goes into Norman and knocks off number 3 Oklahoma and makes it pretty hard. Well, takes Oklahoma out of the driver's seat in the Big 12. And these teams from Iowa, man, they just don't quit.
Yeah, that's a little blue collar right there. But I mean, I still don't mind Oklahoma's schedule. Luckily, they will get a Bedlam, they'll get Texas Tech, and they'll get TCU. So a one-loss Oklahoma team is not out of the question at all.
No, and they'll have some tests where they can really prove that they're for real coming up. But so yeah, Dugan had Notre Dame do this week.
Notre Dame played UNC, and I will say one thing. I haven't tooted the horn a little bit much. Well, I did say a couple weeks ago that in years past, when Notre Dame plays an inferior opponent, they play to their level, and they squeak by. And it's a close game. This was like a close for a little bit, but they've been beating dog shit out of these teams that don't belong, and I love that. And I think something people aren't talking about either, everyone's all over this Shaquan Barkley guy. They love him. Josh Adams from Notre Dame is having a fantastic season. So that is a name to hear about for the rest of the year. A big running back who I believe has better numbers than Shaquan Barkley and has also played like 2 to 4 less quarters because they just pulled the Spurs. So that's a name to watch out for.
Fair enough.
All is well. Going into a bye week, get to prepare a little bit before USC next week.
Yeah, definitely next week's slate of games will be better.
That's the perfect setup.
Yes, as we discussed. And as USA kicks off against Trinidad and Tobago in Trinidad and Tobago. Say that fast enough. Oh my gosh, that is absolutely pathetic. I think in high school I played on better fields. As we discussed earlier today, looking at the schedule for this week's slate of games, not one ranked opponent in the top 25 will play another ranked opponent in the top 25, which makes our picks that much harder, I guess.
We had to find some games that we would actually watch.
Exactly. And Dugan, how are we doing with picks?
So I keep forgetting to look, but we both went 2 and 3 last week. Bradley got, I want to say you got your, I'm blanking here.
I know I got my Clemson right.
You got Wake Forest to cover, and you picked Michigan State.
Oh, wow.
I picked, so I'll tip my tongue, why can't I think of it right now? Oh, yeah. I picked Auburn minus 20 against Ole Miss, and they won by 19.
Wow.
I was there, Brad, and I'm pretty sure, like, Ole Miss was, like, running, like, a hurry-up offense, like 2 minutes left to score from 28 to 21 or something like that. Something stupid.
Sometimes I feel like they just fuck with you.
Oh, speaking of bad beats before we go into this week's games, buddy I was with at the bar had Florida. He was going to go Florida +1. But was it Florida +1? He was going to go Florida +1 and said, fuck it, I'll just take Florida money line. And Florida kicker missed an extra point, and that would have turned the game into overtime, and he would have had a better chance. So
that's tough.
Something to think about.
Bad beats.
Mm-hmm. So this week's games, Bradley, we have the Texas State Fair Red River rivalry, Oklahoma and Texas. The Sooners are 7.5 dogs. Or favorites.
You know, this was a couple years ago. You know, Charlie Strong sitting on the hot seat at Texas.
Get that fucking hat on.
And fucking wins that game. And then all of a sudden, you know, he's the Texas savior again, you know? Like, pay him more money. I honestly think Texas wins this game. Yeah, and you know what? I think that, so therefore I take Oklahoma to cover.
Texas for Brad. Two things that I think about Charlie Strong is one is him wearing that stupid-ass golden cowboy hat after he wins. And the second is him giving his post-game conferences with that stool he has to stand on, which I thought was so funny. I'm going to go Oklahoma after a loss. They're going to rebound. Rivalry game. Big game. They're going to beat the shit out of Texas.
Fair enough. Day game, as always.
Now we got Auburn LSU.
Auburn.
6.5 favorite Auburn.
6.5 favorite Auburn.
I'll go first. I'm on Auburn. I think Auburn's defense is legit, and they have just enough of an offense where they can win. LSU's offense is pretty bad, and I think Auburn's going to be able to make a lot more plays. So I'm going Auburn.
Fair enough. Give me LSU. I think they turn it around, shut Auburn down on defense, and make this a good game at home.
At home, very true. Then we have the traveling Hardballs going to Bloomington, Indiana.
The Hoosiers.
6.5 again.
Man, they played so well against Ohio State at the beginning of the season, and
they played a good half well.
You're right. They played a good half. But I think Michigan rights the ship here and covers big, at least by 17.
Go, Brett. Go finish.
No, at least by 17. So give me Michigan and they'll cover.
I'm in the same way. I think they bounce back on a win. Kind of like the same way Oklahoma does. Bounce back after a loss, win big, kind of reassert themselves, make sure it wasn't a 1 week thing. Next we have Utah going to USC, 13, pardon.
the Utes. I'm trying to find it on my draft or my board here. Man, USC. Did they have a bye week last week? No, they played.
They played. They played Cal. No, Cal. No.
They lost the week before. That's right. They lost the week before. Yeah, USC. I think Utah makes it a close game. USC pulls it out, but they only win by 5.
5. I'm on the same. I'm on the same way. I'm going Utah as well. I think USC might have their heads thinking next week going to South Bend.
Nervous.
Might not come.
Nervous for the Irish.
Just looking ahead, a little trap game. I like it.
Oh man!
But as a Notre Dame fan, I clearly want USC to win. It'll make the Notre Dame win better.
I guess you have to.
They have to, unfortunately, in this day and age. Well, you don't have to. I guess if you're one of those fringe teams that has a loss, you just want your schedule to be as tough as possible.
Fair enough.
So now, the best segment where Brad takes my pick, and then I have to pick my second or third. All right, Brad, I have them labeled 1, 2, and 3 this week. I got a feeling you're going to pick my number 1. It's a lot of points, though, so I don't know if you're going to do it.
All right, hold on. I had a couple here, then sort of like going back and forth. Baylor going to Oklahoma State, minus 25.5.
That was my number 3.
I think Oklahoma State covers.
All right, I'm circling that one for Brad. So I had you peg the 34 is a lot for UCF to cover against ECU.
Oh yeah, I'm not touching ECU anymore.
So I'm gonna stay on this train. I'm gonna go with my number 2 pick. Bama minus 30 against Arkansas. They're just kicking everyone's teeth in.
Oh man,
I'm taking the minus 30 at home too. Oh boy, they're gonna win by 40.
Oh man, what do they do down in Arkansas, man? Brett Bielema might lose his job.
I mean, I don't know. Like who wants that job?
It's tough.
Like it's really tough. So I don't know. That's a tough gig. I don't know if I would want that.
Yeah, I mean,
too hot for me.
Think about just the landscape 7 years ago for the SEC. You have Urban at Florida, Steve Spurrier at South Carolina, Mark Rick at UGA. Obviously, what's that?
Was Bobby Petrino at Arkansas?
Bobby Petrino was at Arkansas and had a number 3 team in the country before going to Alabama, and I mean that was a power run. That was like Alabama light beer, like
Darren McFadden.
Yeah, no, I mean they were good. You had Les Miles at LSU. Obviously you had Saban. I think we covered him. I mean it was, and who? What was that? Who's that fat guy who coached Cam to that national championship at Auburn?
Gene
Chizik. Oh, and yeah, Gene Chizik at Auburn. This was 7 years ago. And look at the landscape of the SEC now. You could make the fact that better coaching just left.
Left or got in trouble.
Left or got in trouble, and I mean, if Nick Saban doesn't go to Alabama, like, what does that landscape look like now? Does Urban stay?
Yeah, he probably doesn't. He doesn't fake a heart attack.
Yeah, he doesn't fake a heart attack. Well, and Petrino still sexually assaults his assistant.
His assistant while on his motorcycle.
While on his motorcycle. Les Miles.
That's an all-time picture, Brad.
Yeah.
That press conference picture. Dude, that's an all.
The neck brace.
the neck brace and the scabs on his face. Oh, that's a great picture. I kind of want that on a T-shirt.
Butch Jones, I think, is only in his 5th year, so I'm not going to throw him in that pool yet. But and I guess Mark Rick and Steve Spurrier, anybody coming out of the East, really sort of, except for Urban, kind of put their foot in their own graves just by not winning the East every year. At least getting to the SEC championship. I mean, you had Missouri go like twice in a row. Like that just can't happen for these big time programs. And obviously Spurrier, I don't even really think cared at the end there. Les Miles, obviously not winning the West after going undefeated and beating Bama in 2011. And they just wanted to change the scenery. The SEC is crazy right now. But brings me to my point I was going to make in the middle there, but just got on such a rant.
Sorry.
The top 4 right now, obviously, as the first week in November, the College Football Committee or Bowl Committee will meet and give out their top 4 rankings, or top 10, whatever. They'll let you know if the season ended today, who would be in the college football playoff. Dugan, have you looked at the standings?
Yeah, I know who's going to be in my college playoff.
Alabama number 1, Clemson number 2. No surprise there. A lot of people had them, I would say about half. Half had Florida State coming out of the ACC, half had Clemson coming back. So no surprises there. Penn State is now at number 3.
I don't like Penn State. I think they're frauds.
Sort of a fraudulent. They've kept it in close games, and Barkley sort of bailed them out.
That's a good team yet.
Yeah, that's my Heisman winner, by the way, right now. If the season ended today, and then Georgia is that number 4.
I agree with that. They're so good.
Now here's the next 4. Number 5, 6, 7, and 8. Washington, TCU, Wisconsin, and Washington State.
I'm fine with that.
That's nuts.
It's crazy how there are a lot of teams that you would never have even thought a couple weeks ago would be even in contention.
No, I agree. But, it is that weird part of the season where half the teams that are going to have that one loss on the resume have it.
Yeah.
The other half don't have that one loss. Obviously, Georgia and Alabama, one of those 2 teams got to lose to each other. Washington State, obviously one of those teams have to lose to each other. Penn State, Wisconsin, someone has to lose to each other. So obviously there's going to be some movement here in the upcoming weeks, and by no means do I anticipate the college football playoff having 4 undefeateds, We only had 1 last year, and I think 1 the year before that. So we shall see here moving forward with Ohio State being the first 1-loss team at number 9.
Where's Notre Dame?
Number 16.
That's fair. They haven't played anybody except a loss to Georgia. That's fair.
Yeah, I mean, that loss to Georgia, even at home, but is looking good every week.
It is. They had a chance. It is.
So I mean, Kelly could be digging himself out of his own grave. We'll see. We'd love to see the Fighting Irish in the college football playoff as an independent, having that first sort of mix the pot, have some chaos towards the towards the end of the season, and then maybe even have 2 conferences missing out. Even though I can see the committee counting them as an ACC team, to be honest.
If that happens, they might actually have to join the conference. Not looking forward to that, but I am looking forward to it at the same time.
No,
I don't know.
Notre Dame's one of those teams where it's the allure, the tradition of playing the Stanfords, the USC's, just going all around to these different and having these different games every year, every other year. So I don't know. I'd like to. I think it makes it interesting. More chaos.
I agree.
More things to talk about. I think college football is the only sport where there's just no way to be sure about anything because there are just so many teams and so many big time programs that everybody can't play everybody. So you'd never know.
Exactly, and the fucking BCS. I missed the BCS. That took it all. That took everything out of the equation. It was awesome.
You're lying.
The computer. No, I think I liked the computers just because it fucked everybody.
So I don't think I've ever gotten your opinion on this on air, but when LSU Bama played for the rematch in the national championship, how mad were you?
What year was that?
2011.
See, I didn't mind that because weren't they debatably
Oh, they were
They were
stacked.
two best teams around the final. And I think if the first episode of the year, we gave our first ones, and I actually had picked two teams from the same conference. So I'm fine with that. As long as it's justified and they're clearly the two best teams, I have no problem with that.
No, and I agree. And I think that sometimes it's fair to say that that a conference could have the two best, or at least two top 4 teams in the nation be in the same conference, and especially at the SEC where it was so much talent for so long. But again, I won't get on my soapbox. The SEC is dead.
It's close. It's it's in the what's the word I'm looking for? Where all the sick old people go. It's in the
old timers.
Yeah, no.
Retirement home?
Why can't I think of this damn word? It's where all the sick freaking old people go.
The hospital?
No. It's like a special wing of a hospital. She's in it'll come back to me hopefully by the time we finish this. Sorry.
Well, we're sort of wrapping up as is right now. So.
Yeah, no. I'm gonna figure this out before I hold. It's it's called a shit. It's not called a shit. Old sick people. It's a
Googling on air.
Googling a place for old sick people.
On air is just great podcast.
I know this is old. It's called a
Dugan, while you search, I have one more question, and then we do have to go. Who do you think will attract more people? I'm sorry, that's a bad way to phrase the question. The question is, will more people be at the United States Trinidad and Tobago game tonight? Or will more people listen to this podcast?
I'm going to go with the podcast.
Oh, yes. There are not a lot of people there right now. And that field looks suspect, especially in the middle there. I don't know what's going on. Looks like a lot of dead grass. I don't know. Dugan, do we have a consensus on where the sick, old, dying people go in the hospital? The ward?
Brad. Oh, shit, Brad. Sorry, my iPad just dropped. Sorry about that, Brad.
You're right.
My iPad just dropped. It's called hospice.
Oh, yeah. Oh, wow, we work in the healthcare industry and we can't figure that out.
Yeah. I think that's where the SEC is. They're in hospice.
Hospice Center. Excellent, Dugan. Yeah. Excellent. Great podcast tonight.
Go, Brad.
Go USA.
Saturday?
And we will be back, as always, next week. Oh, man.
I will see you on Saturday?
Yeah, we'll see each other Saturday.
Well, hey, have fun. Safe travels.
You as well.
Take care, brother.
Yeah, man.